Thanks for joining us on the John Mendola Show. We are driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers. Well, let's talk with Nick Donato, who is now retired. Scranton Prep coach last year, and a great season they had. Did the Cavaliers, and recently this summer entered the Pennsylvania Football State Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Well, congratulations, Coach Donato. I'm sure that was quite an honor for you this summer.
Oh, thanks, John. It was. I was thrilled by it, and like I said, a lot of hard work went into it. Not only by myself, but the coaches and players that have worked with me over the years.
Well, Coach, you coached as a head coach, as an assistant coach. You had a lot of success wherever you were. Talk about kind of knowing when to put your foot on the gas pedal and kind of knowing when to kind of take a step back as you did during your coaching career.
Yeah, well, as far as, both programs, I mean, we went in with, and I always say we with this because I think a big thing as far as being a head coach is being able to put a pretty good staff together and, have people that the kids, can get a lot out of and everybody pulling in the same direction. And, both programs we went into, kind of in dire straits, and we just worked really hard, committed to the kids to a type of program that it was going to take to be successful. So summer weightlifting and workouts and winter workouts with the weight program and everything. And you go through some tough years there in the beginning, but you get enough kids to buy into it, and then after a while, it just kind of runs itself, and that's what I'm hoping it continues to do for Terry down at Prep.
Coach, talk about the X's and O's of the game, and people miss that an awful lot. But for a guy like you, those relationships, those daily relationships, and seeing your fellow coaches and being around the kids is usually the thing that coaches like yourself miss the most.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, I use the words fortunate and grateful to describe, my situations as a head coach at both North Pocono and Scranton Prep. We worked extremely hard. We had great kids, but the relationships are big. I mean, I don't think you can have success without having the relationships, because football, it's a tough sport. I think kids get a lot out of it, but they really have to give up a lot for it. And I always told the kids, not many kids are doing what you're doing here in the summer heat and everything else. And it's nice when you can get rewarded with a victory or a championship, because I don't think you can get a feeling like that doing anything else in sports as an individual or even in other teams, because I just think with football it takes so many kids pulling together, a lot more than the 11 that are out there, and that's what I'll miss about it. But like I said, I like doing other things also, and I've done this for a long time, the football for a long time. So, I'm very, very content, very satisfied with the decision that I made. And I was really happy that the guys that worked with me are going to be the ones that take over, and we have a nice nucleus coming back. So, I think we'll be very competitive again, and I'm sure Terry and the group, they'll win the games they're supposed to win.
Coach, how about those relationships that you had of some of the mentors? When you're getting into coaching, guys that you looked up to and you learned some things from. Talk a little bit about some of those things.
Okay, I played for Lou Costanzo at Dunmore, and that was before Jack Henses took over, and I played all 4 years for Coach Costanzo, and he was a no-nonsense, very tough guy that worked really hard at what he did. I mean, we practiced it 3 times a day, and I remember at that time it was just those types of 3 days were just kind of starting out. So, and there was a sense of toughness about most coaches at that time, including my dad. And, so I went through that under Coach Costanzo. And actually, before that, my dad had a tremendous effect on me. I can remember being at his games. I could picture games from the time I was 6 years old. being at, I don't think I missed a game up until I started playing in high school. So he had a tremendous impact. He was very, other coaches like Cliff Desai always said to me, your dad was way ahead of everybody in the 1950s there. He had a period from 51 to 61 where I think in 11 years there, they lost 19 games total and, played all over the state. So he had, he worked hard at what he did, studying films. And again, I remember before the August 18th date, his kids were, they would meet and, they were getting ready to go. And so his work ethic certainly had an effect upon me. And then I had a great break. I worked as a graduate assistant under Frank Kush out at Arizona State. And he, just working with him and seeing the way they did things and being exposed to that type of a program, I brought back a lot of things, from that great experience. And I'll tell you what, you learn so much from going to clinics and going to camps and everything else. I mean, I know a lot of things we've done over the years I picked up at a camp, talking with another coach or, at a clinic over the winter. So, there's so much out there for coaches to be able to pick up and to learn from.
We're so fortunate in northeastern Pennsylvania to have some guys that really have done an incredible job. Coach Bazzalia has retired. Coach Hens is still going at it. Guys like Teddy Jackson, who retired and still assisting a little bit. Unfortunate passing of Coach George Curry. Really tremendous tradition here, and of course, a guy like yourself. It really, it's a credit, I guess, to the programs here in our area that really they've done the best with what they've had, and there's been some good football.
Oh my God, they're great coaches, and like I said, those guys you mentioned, Coach Bazai and Coach Hens, we played every year, and you learn a lot from those guys too over the years. I mean, you watch what they do and the things that the teams are successful at doing, and you try to incorporate some of those ideas into yours. And with Coach Curry, I mean, we played them 7 times over the years. Twice at Prep and 5 times at North Pocono, and they were all either championship games or semifinal games. And I mean, he was. I always say he was way ahead of everybody back in the late '80s and early '90s in the things that he was doing. And there's some really good young coaches out there now. Some very good young, coach. I say young, but guys that they're 10, 15 years or so. They might be in their 40s or so, or 30s, and people work so hard at this game today. I think if you're going to stay in it, you have to.
And things had changed. You mentioned your dad back in the 50s looking at film, and of course you looking at film all your career. And how about, as of last year, how things have changed with the game the last couple of years with things like Huddle and people being able to look at tape and all this stuff?
Yeah, my dad, I think, was one of the first probably in the area. He used to have that old Kodak Analyst, and I remember the films would come to our house on Sunday, and he'd look at it from Friday night's game, and I'd sit down with him and just watch, and watching the game like. You'd pick up a couple of things, but I was more a fan at that time. But, and that was the way it was when I first started coaching, too. I began a head coach in 1981. But then we went to the videotape, and that made it a little bit easier. But now this Huddle is just fantastic. You can get. I was fortunate the last few years. I was already retired from teaching, so for me it was from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. And Huddle, if you wanted to see how a team ran a certain play, you just punch it in, and every time they ran it, if you had the games in there, it would come up, and or even your own team, you want to see what you're doing in a particular down and distance or what they're doing. I mean, things that colleges might have been doing, and you have so many people on their staff working and splicing film and everything else. I mean, huddle is just incredible. And like I said, now you put more time into it, but that was the fun part of it. Once the season comes, and I think other coaches are just like me. Once the season came, to forget about everything else. Besides, you take care of your family and the things that are necessities. But as far as your enjoyment was concerned, if you had a few hours in a weekend, that might be it.
A lot of hard work into coaching, and of course nowadays, kids involved, maybe they have a job, things are a little different, and of course, soccer really boomed over the last couple of decades in northeastern Pennsylvania as well. To be a high school football coach, maybe back in the 80s compared to here in 2016, there's just been a lot of changes, and across the state of Pennsylvania, back in the day playing for an Eastern Conference title, now, you're playing bigger schools, you're playing private schools, you're playing different things, so the game has changed all in all, but nonetheless, you're still lining up across from each other and hoping to have fun. I think a lot of people they lose sight of some of that stuff. All of us, I think, at times can, but you're hoping that the young men can learn something from the game and have some fun on a given weekend.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, I mean, I give the kids so much credit today because I know even my kids now, I have a couple of coaches that play for me at North Polk, and I think we've changed in a good way the way we coach the game. And I mean, we know so much more about the safety factors. I mean, up at North Pocono, we scrimmaged a great deal during the week and, throughout the summer. And, our teams in prep, I mean, we did almost nothing live at practice. Very, very seldom. Everything was form tackling and just getting to spots and wrapping up. So that part of it certainly has changed. The kids, though, I mean, they have to put in the time. If you're going to be successful, I mean, our kids at prep put in just as much time as our kids did at North Pocono years ago. And, as I said, I give them a lot of credit for that. And I'm sure all the teams that, are having success, you have a number of kids that are making the commitment.
Well, Coach, it's great to catch up with you and talk a little football. And, of course, I know you've been at various camps enjoying yourself and just getting a little taste of football this summer and helping out some different camps. So we appreciate your time, and we wish you the very best. And whatever you're going to do, just enjoy life here. Thank you, John. It's always nice talking with you. Take care. Nick Donato, a head coach at Scranton Prep, North Pocono, assisted at Abington Heights as well. Here on the John Mendola Show, we are driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers.